What if I told you the internet you use every day is only a tiny fraction of what actually exists? The videos you watch, the websites you visit, the apps you scroll through for hours, all of it combined is just the surface. And beneath it, there's another world, unindexed, unseen, a place where information exists, but isn't meant to be easily found. And even deeper than that, there's a part of the internet most people will never experience. Not because they can't, but because they shouldn't. So the question is, when you say internet, what are you really talking about? Let's start with what you already know. The part of the internet you use every single day. The surface web. This is the internet you can access through normal browsers. Search something on Google Search, and you get results instantly. Websites, blogs, news, videos. Everything is indexed. Everything is organized. Everything is visible. This is where platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and Wikipedia exist. It feels infinite, but it's not. In fact, the surface web makes up less than 5% of the entire internet. Just 5%. Think about that. Everything you've ever seen online is only the tip of the iceberg. So what lies beneath it? This is where we enter the deep web. Now pause for a second, because most people misunderstand this completely. The deep web is not illegal. It's not dark. It's not dangerous. It's simply hidden. Any data that isn't indexed by search engines belongs to the deep web. Your email inbox, your private messages, your bank account, your cloud storage, all of it is part of the deep web because it's protected, not meant for everyone, only accessible with permission. And suddenly, you realize something important. You're already using the deep web every day. You just never thought of it that way. But then, there's another layer, and this is where things start to feel different. The dark web. And no, it's not what movies make it look like. But it's also not something to ignore. The dark web is a small part of the deep web, but it's intentionally hidden. You can't access it with normal browsers. You need special tools, like Tor browser. And the purpose? Anonymity. Complete anonymity. No tracking, no identity, no visibility. And that creates something powerful. Freedom. The ability to communicate without being watched. For journalists, for activists, for people living under strict governments, this isn't dangerous. It's necessary. But here's the reality. Where there is anonymity, there is also misuse. Illegal marketplaces, hidden forums, things that operate outside the law. And that's why the dark web has a reputation. Not because everything there is bad, but because nothing there is controlled. Now think about this. The same internet can be a place of learning, a place of connection, and a place of secrecy, all at the same time. It depends on how it's used. But we're not done yet, because the internet is not just divided by visibility, it's also divided by purpose. Let's talk about another type, the invisible internet. Not a separate layer, but a concept. Data that exists, but is not meant for humans. Machine-to-machine communication, APIs, databases, automated systems, your apps talking to servers, without you even knowing. Every time you refresh a page, data is being exchanged silently. You don't see it, but it's happening, constantly. And then, there's something even more interesting. The private internet, used by corporations, governments, organizations, internal networks, not accessible to the public, not searchable, completely isolated. These networks control critical systems, banks, defense systems, corporate operations, entire infrastructures running parallel to the public internet, and you will never see them. Now stop for a moment and think about what we've uncovered so far. The internet is not one thing. It's layers, surface, deep, dark, private, each with its own purpose, each with its own rules, each with its own level of access. And suddenly, that simple idea of going online doesn't feel so simple anymore. But this is just the beginning. Because the deeper we go, the more complicated it becomes. And the more one question starts to grow. How much of the internet do we actually understand? Because the real question isn't, what type of internet exists? The real question is, who controls it? Every time you open a website, scroll through a feed, watch a video, you feel like you're exploring freely. But are you? Or are you being guided? Because the surface web is not as neutral as it seems. Algorithms decide what you see. Platforms decide what stays and what disappears. And slowly, your version of the internet becomes personalized, curated, filtered, not by you, but for you. Think about it. Why do two people search the same thing and get different results? Why does your feed feel so accurate, almost like it knows you? Because it does. Every click, every search, Every second you spend on a page is being tracked, not in a dramatic way, not in a way you can see, but in a way that builds a profile, a digital version of you, your interests, your habits, your behavior. And that data is one of the most valuable things in the world. Now compare that to the deep web, where your data is protected, locked behind passwords, hidden behind encryption. Here, access is controlled. Not everything is open. And for the first time, privacy becomes intentional. And then compare that again to the dark web, where identity disappears completely. No tracking, no profile, no history. And suddenly, you move from being watched to being invisible. So now you have three realities. On the surface web, you are visible. On the deep web, you are protected. On the dark web, you are anonymous. Three different experiences on the same internet. But here's the problem. Most people don't think about this. They just use the internet. Scroll, click, watch, repeat. Never asking, where is my data going? Who is seeing this? What am I giving away in exchange for convenience? Because the internet today is built on a simple trade. Free services in exchange for your attention, your data, your time. And now we're entering something new, a shift. A new version of the internet, Web 3.0. You've probably heard the term. But what does it actually mean? It's the idea of ownership. Instead of platforms controlling everything, users begin to take control. Decentralization. No single authority. No central control. Data owned by individuals, not corporations. Built on technologies like blockchain, where information isn't stored in one place, but across a network. Transparent. Secure. Difficult to manipulate. It sounds like freedom. And in many ways, it is. But it also comes with challenges, complexity, responsibility, risk. Because when you remove control, you also remove protection. And this brings us to something deeper, something beyond technology. Because the internet is not just a system, it's a reflection of how we communicate, how we share, how we think. The surface web shows what we want others to see. The deep web protects what we want to keep private. The dark web hides what we don't want anyone to find. 3 layers. Not just of the internet, but of human behavior. And maybe that's why this topic feels so powerful. Because when you explore the internet, you're not just exploring technology, you're exploring people, their intentions, their choices, their boundaries. So now, when you open your browser and type something simple, will it still feel the same? Or will you remember that behind every click, there's a system. Behind every result, there's a decision. Behind every platform, there's control. And maybe the most important question is, are you using the internet, or is the internet using you? Because in a world where everything is connected, the real power is understanding what's hidden. And now that you know, you're no longer just a user. You're aware. So the next time someone says, the internet, you might want to ask them, which one?